the last steps of designing your print interior is to set chapter title pages as well as balance your pages. And this is something that I do together. And this is kind of my final look through of the book before I create the first draft PDF to send to my clients. So as you know, if you use my template that I have set up, there are a couple of important things in this template that are related to balance pages. First of all the chapter text is set to the grid line. And so if you look at these blue lines, these are all the grid line. And all text should fall on the grid line. And also in the template, I have settings to prevent orphans and widows as well as runs. So if you use the template, those are some things that you really don't need to worry about. Of course, unless you change your font size, there's some tweaking that you may need to do in the justification settings as well as the hyphenation settings. So for this book, I have already set all the styles for everything. Now I'm at the last stage of balancing pages and setting my chapter title pages, and I've already set some chapter title pages. So we are going to go through and just go ahead and go through this step. So I'm going to go through my process. So first thing is, this is already set to a chapter title page, so I don't need to worry about this. This is the prologue, and the prologue should be a continuation of the numbers from the front matter. And these pages are balanced. These pages are balanced. These pages, they're balanced. However, we have an open line down here, but since these pages are balanced, I'm probably not going to try to mess with it unless I can figure out an easy way to do it. I might take this paragraph and see if I can bump an extra line. That didn't work. I know I'll be able to get an extra line here, but I really need to look at this page. I do have room, an extra line here that I can push to the next page if possible. So let's take a look at this paragraph. And this is just one of those visual things. As you've been formatting, you're going to notice areas that you're going to be able to add a line or take away a line. If you followed me before, you know my tracking. I usually only go to 10, but visually, if I can't get it to push over, I may try 20. And then I may take a look at it and see. It is a little spaced out visually, but you may be able to get away from that. There's a couple of things I may change at this point. First of all, let me check. This is 5.5 by 8.5. And if we look at our chapter text style, which everything is based on this chapter text style, I'm going to take a look at my justification settings. I might be able to tweak them a little bit. These are the settings that I prefer to use. So I can definitely, I may have room to play with them. And I'm going to just make some slight tweaks. I'm also going to take a look at my hyphenation settings. 5 letters, 2 letters for the first, 2 letters for the last, 1 hyphen. I don't like a lot of hyphens, and definitely never together. I usually avoid hyphenating capitalized words and hyphenating across columns, so across a double page spread, and I avoid hyphenating the last word. You can adjust these based on your personal preferences. These are just mine. And then the other thing that you can do is tweak the grep style that prevents you from having a run. So in the template, this is usually set to 10, but I have adjusted this down to 7 because of the 5.5 page width. If it is a 6 by 9 book, I usually leave it at 10, but if it's 5.5 or lower in width, I will adjust it down to 7. Okay. All right, so let's just go back, since I did make some settings to the justifications. Let's just go back and take a look at those pages. Let's clear this one. All right, so we're back to that page, seeing if I can add to this. The reason why this line isn't coming down here is because if we allowed this line to go down here, then we'd have an orphan, and that's poor book design, and I do not like orphans, so I will not set that to have an orphan. So in a lot of cases, sometimes I just don't try to balance these. If these pages are already balanced, but they're just a line short, I usually just leave them at that. And in some cases, I may decide to make a few tweaks to make them fit. Now, one thing I could do is I can probably bump this up, all right? Because that was a pretty short word down at the end, and I can usually definitely fit that word within the paragraph if the paragraph is a certain length. But that still caused, now that caused a new issue that these pages are no longer balanced, but we know we should be able to increase the settings here. I don't necessarily like how that one is, so I'm going to see if 15 will do it. Let me change it to 12, and I think that's going to be a little bit better. Again, I like to view it in a print format to make sure it still reads well. And those pages are now balanced. And so this last step is just going through everything to making sure to balance them. All right, so it's kind of the longest process that you need to do before your book is ready. So on this page, we need to balance. So there's a couple of things that we can do. We can try to, we really need to push a line down, all right? And looking at it quickly, there's really not any areas that I can do that easily. Sometimes you can come to the next line. We might be able to fit this, all right? So I just adjusted the tracking down to -10, which allowed me to fit that entire paragraph. It's a little tight, but I think it's still readable. But now that balances those pages. These pages are now balanced. And this is the last page of the chapter, so it doesn't matter if it is balanced or not. But we can actually balance it because I pay attention to my justification and hyphenate, or the H&J violations, which is this yellow stuff. So I will take a look at those sometimes if I'm having trouble balancing a page, and I will just expand those out in some situations. So just taking the tracking up to 10 makes that line read a lot better. And then we have balanced pages here, which really doesn't matter since this is the last page of a chapter. All right, so here's where chapter 1 begins. Also, page 1 begins here. This is a no-no. We do not want any text on a blank left-hand page. I do want my, I do need to set my master page so that the artwork extends onto this page. All right, so we are good there. And this page is a line short. Again, as long as it's balanced, in some cases I don't worry about that. So right now I think I'm going to leave that one. Again, this one's balanced, but we're missing that one line, which I'm okay with. And this page is not balanced, so we need to find out where we can balance them. We will need to add a line somewhere on this page. So when you are balancing pages, take a look at the page that has the issue and look at the longest paragraphs and paragraphs that end at the very end, right? Those are the ones that you'll want to pay attention to see if you can expand. So we're just going to see if I can bump this one. I added the tracking to be 10. I don't necessarily like to go above 10, but in some cases I will try it. So let's look at it there. That doesn't look terrible, but we're going to undo that and see if some of these other paragraphs can go without going up to 20. So I hope that makes sense. And in some cases, if you're just not sure, select the entire page, do and go up to 10, and if nothing falls, then you know you can't get anything to go. So in this case, what I may do, I want to see if I can get radio down to the next line, so we're just going to add a little bit of space. All right, so I got radio down, and I think that'll work. So these pages are now balanced. These pages are naturally balanced. We're good there. And we don't need to worry about chapter, pages that are on that are opposite a chapter title page, because these are different chapters. They do not need to be balanced. Okay. All right. So this one is already balanced. This one is already balanced. We don't need to worry about this one. This one is the last page of a chapter, so we don't need to worry about that. All right. Now, I do not want only 2 lines at the end of a chapter. All right. Usually I prefer to have about 6, but depending if I can't do anything else, I will go with at least 3, but this is only 2. So we need to figure this out. Now, there's a couple of things you can do. One thing, look at your lines to see if there's any that can go over. All right, so this is one line that's extended all the way to the end. We may be able to increase it. That's a 10 tracking. That's a 20 tracking. I try not to go any higher than that. So I know we're not going to be able to push that line over. Another thing that I will do is, in some cases, now this is kind of a last resort, I will just add a line here, because no one, unless you're a professional book designer, no one is going to notice that. That's going to push the next couple of lines onto the next page. That gives us 4 lines. I can live with that. Another thing you can do is just slightly adjust the baseline on this. So I believe for our baseline here, I think we have 15 points. Yep, 15 points. I may fake it and do a 14-point line spacing or 14.5 line spacing just on this page. All right, so what I would do in that case is I would select this text frame, do text frame options, go to baseline options, and use a custom baseline, and I'm going to set it to 14. Okay, now you might say, oh no, what happened? Well, it's because the line spacing on this is actually set to 15, so we're just going to adjust that down to 14, and that did not correct the problem, so that's not a good way to correct it, so I'm going to undo that, and I'm just going to stick with just this extra line space below our chapter title. All right, so moving on, we are not balanced here. We'll be able to take this paragraph and push it, so now we're balanced. Again, part of book design is you're just going to naturally see these areas that you can tweak to make them work. And then sometimes you can play a couple of pages before to make things reflow, and a couple, 1 or 2 pages before. And sometimes you can even go to the very beginning of a chapter to make things reflow. So I'm just identifying certain lines that I may be able to do. We're going to see if we can push this to 20. It's a little tight, so I don't want to do that one. Again, a lot of this is just natural by eye. Now we should be able to push this paragraph, but then that's going to give us a line short on this paragraph, so I don't want to do that. Same here, if I push this paragraph, that's going to give us a line short here. I'm going to see if I can bump this one. And then I'm going to see if I can do anything with this one. No. Now, I normally don't take this long to do these kind of things because, part of it is being efficient. So you're not going to be as efficient when you get started, but, just take the time to get it right. And then the more and more you do, the more and more it's going to come natural, and you're going to be able to see where you're going to be able to take lines and add lines. So for this one, this is another thing that I will do. I will break my widow settings, okay? So for this one, breaking the widow settings will work. I will only break the widow settings if there is nothing else I can do to create a balanced layout. Okay. Um, so to break the widow settings, go to the paragraph that you want to break the setting, go to your little 3-line menu and go to Keep Options. And at the start of the paragraph, we only want 1 line for this. That creates this widow down here, but we get the pages to balance. Now, I will have widows across double page spreads like this, only if I have no other option to balance pages. All right. Now, I will not have a widow here. Okay. And so only on a left-hand page to balance a double page spread. Okay. Now, there's one area we could have tested this to see if we gotten that. So in looking at this page, I'm able to fix that widow. Fix that balance page without doing the widow by adjusting the tracking on this paragraph. However, that gives me an issue on this page. We'll see if we can fix that. And there we go. So I was able to correct that without creating the widow. However, this introduced a new error, and that's I only have 2 lines here. We're going to see if we can tweak that, and we can't. So what I'm going to do in that situation is I'm going to undo, and instead of creating a widow, I'm actually going to force this line onto this page just so we can keep a substantial number of lines on this page. So we're in this paragraph here. What I'm going to do to get this page to balance, I'm going to go to Keep Options just for this paragraph, and I'm going to change our end until I get these pages to balance. So now they're balanced, and we added 2 additional lines over here, and now we have 6 lines on this page, which is great. All right, so moving on, we don't need anything here. We need these pages to balance. Quickly looking at them, again, sometimes I'll go back a page to see if there's an easy way out. I noticed there's some issues in this particular document that I need to search for. We have room to move this down, okay, because we have plenty of lines here. We don't have room to bring it up because we can create an additional line here which will bring this, but I don't know if we have any paragraphs that are going to do that, but we did. So this paragraph, I was able to track to a -10 and get those lines on this page. However, we're still not balanced, so we have to look at how we can balance them still. So I'm going to undo that, and we are going to see about pushing another line down. All right, now that's a little spaced out, but again, there are certain things that you can live with and certain things you can't. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to readjust that, and then we're going to see how we can fix it on this page. We're going to see if we can increase this one. So we were able to get subsided down okay. All right, so that's now balanced. These are balanced. We are short a line on both pages, but in looking at it, there's 3 lines here. This is going to be difficult to fix, so I'm going to leave that one as is. We need to fix this one, so I think we'll be able to increase this. So I'm going to track it to 10, which puts distance down to the next line, and so now we're balanced. And then on this page, we're just going to take a look at a couple of things. We might be able to increase this. And again, I'm doing this slowly just so you can see. Just trying different things out. Most of the time I can spot it right away, so I can generally balance pages pretty quickly. But it's important for you to understand all the different things that you can do. So I tracked this one out to 10, and that allowed us to balance these pages. Here, I can instantly see that we can push this out because there's a lot of yellow that's really tight. And now it's a little loose, but it still looks good. All right. These are balanced. And this one, let's see what we can do here. Might be a couple of things that we can do. So that's one thing that we can do, and now they're balanced. But let's see if we can balance them even better, so we can add that extra line there. Let's see how that looks. That's a little tight, so we're just going to deal with that extra line down there. All right, so let's move on. We need to balance this page, so I'm just going to see if I can push this one down. So now they're balanced. Balanced. See what we can do with this one. And some of them you have to look at and say, what can I do here? And in some cases, you can't really do a lot. But so you just have to figure out what the best method, what the best way to fix it is. So, and again, that goes back to going to a couple of pages before and see if you can make some changes. All right, so I'm going to the very beginning of the chapter for this one. I naturally fix that by just making that one tweak at the very beginning of the chapter. So that's important to know, is to always just look throughout the entire chapter if you just can't get it to balance properly. So here's where we need to balance. I can probably push this one out. We need to balance here, so let's see what we can do. We can push this one out right here. So those are balanced. Already balanced. We need to set our chapter pages, our master pages. So now there are some scripts that will allow you to automatically set your master pages based on the styles. I prefer not to use them. Yes, they do save time, but I do like to kind of manually go through the book and make these and set those myself. It helps me find issues. So here we are going to have a couple of issues. The first thing that we can immediately do is we could actually, if we were okay with leaving an empty line, we can push this no answer to the next page, which is what I'm going to wind up doing. Or we could actually take space here and just balance them that way. Now, the reason why I didn't try to adjust this page is because there were 3 lines here, and I would have needed to come up with 2 extra lines in order for it to fit. Now, I could have come up with one here, but that would have gotten me nowhere, and there's really nowhere else I can generate an extra line from. So this is another one that I might break the widow and orphan setting, so I might create a widow here. All right, and so that creates a balanced page, so I am going to leave that there, but in some cases, if I can't get the next couple of pages to balance, I will undo that. Clear that out, and we'll just leave it here, so we'll have that where it has an extra line there, and we'll see what we can do with the next one. Again, it's all a matter of practice, going through it, deciding whether you're okay with you know, having an extra line, a blank line. Again, certain things only book designers are going to notice. Now we're balanced on those pages, and I'm okay with this number of lines, and then set my master pages. Okay. All right, we're balanced, we're balanced, we're balanced. Set master. master pages. So now I'm just going to quickly scroll through and I will add any comments based on anything that I haven't shown you yet. So I'm just going to do it. Balanced. I'm not going to worry about that one. Well, actually, I may. Nope, I'm not. For this one, I am going to create a widow, only because I see what's coming up and I really need to adjust the space for the next one. So now previously this had 2 blank lines down at the bottom, but because of that widow adjustment, I was able to balance these pages. All right, so we're 5 lines here. I may actually just force this line onto the next. So to force this line, what I'm going to do is go to Keep Options and just say Keep with Next Line. Okay. All right, I'm going to set our chapter title pages. Set our chapter title pages. And check. This one is even, but we may be able to get an extra line. All right, so that did it. We're even. I hate underlines, so we are going to actually change this to italic. I will fight with my clients on that. Underlines really muddies up your text, so try to avoid them. All right, so this is balanced. We just don't have an extra line there, and I'm fine with that. All right, we're going to shrink that. We are going to assign master pages. And I do not want these set to. All right. And you don't want to spend too much time trying to figure this out, especially if you're doing this for clients. Make quick decisions as you're doing it. Now, in some cases, I will try to fix where there's 2 lines here. This is the end of end of a chapter, so we'll see what we can do. Oh, that worked out, and I actually wound up balancing them, so we're okay there. And we're going to apply the master pages. Okay. I'm just going to leave that. Apply master pages. Now, on this one, we have a seam break at the bottom of the page. So in these situations, I typically don't balance. The seam break is a little bit of a different entity, so you may not want to worry about those. This one we can increase. This one we can decrease. But when we decrease, we can create a new situation over here. So let's see what we can do to fix that. I have a video on M-dashes. Oh, there's a mistake there. On M-dashes that you should watch if you are not familiar with what you should use. So we are actually going to go back to this one because we just have one line. So that was able to fix that. All right, with seam break, I'm not going to worry about. Now, this line right here, it's really super spaced, and the reason why is because this is a capitalized word. So in certain situations like this where I think it would be better suited another way, I will add in a discretionary hyphen, and so that will actually force transportation to break with a hyphen, even though my hyphenation settings are to not hyphenate capitalized words, all right? So, but I'm okay with this one. This is transportation. It's not like a person's name. All right, so this is a seam break. I'm going to leave that the way it is. Those are already balanced. And we've got to figure out how to get these two lines onto this page. So there's one, and we'll come back to this page and see if we can do anything. Nope. Let me try to correct these. Alright, so here we need to set our chapter title page. I don't know why this graphic isn't coming through, so let's do our links. Let's refresh those. Here, I do not like this. I would like to see if I can get one more line on this page. We're just going to take that down, which is, we're able to fit that one line. All right, and here, let's see if we can fix this. And I will just play around with different paragraphs to see if I can get any of them to go to 10. And then again, this is where I'll select the whole thing and see if I can get any of them to go to 10, which I can't. So I am going to look at the most dense line and bump that up to 20. And then sometimes I'll bring it back down to 15 and even lower just to see if I can get just a better looking one, but that's fine. Close it. It doesn't look that much different, so we're good there. It's all in those justification settings. All right, that one's already done. Again, I do not like certain things such as underline and bold. Really should not be used in books. It just really detracts the eye, so I'm going to change that to italic. And italic, I mean, what they want to emphasize, she's been out of this house 4 hours, and so bold definitely does that, whereas italics is the better use of that. Now, I am not a fan of having all caps either, but that's the way the author did this, so I'm not going to worry about those. And again, he's trying to emphasize that the character is yelling. which I get, but there are better ways to do it. Again, I'm probably going to go through and look for all the underlines and just change them. All right, so we got to balance this one. Actually, this is okay. This might be, if I create a widow down here, we're still not going to be balanced. And this one's going to be difficult because we have 3 lines here that we have to contend with. We can't really add an extra line here. So this is one that you just really have to get creative or just not worry about the rule. This one we might be able to punch up, which we can. So now we're balanced. We have an extra line, but that's okay. I'm going to actually punch this one out because it's a little too tight. And then to get this to balance, we need 2 lines. So that probably means there's 3 lines here. But if we just move this line onto this page, we're going to balance. So I'm going to go to Keep Options. We're going to keep with next 1 line. And now we're going to balance those. All right, those are balanced. Those are balanced. Let's see what we can do here. Nope. All right, so now we've got 2 lines here. We're going to dump this one to the next page. All right, let's see. Okay. Here, this is 3 lines, so this is going to be difficult to be able to get 3 lines over here. There's really nothing I see visually that I could expand to where this page would fall to this line. So what we're going to do is we're just going to push this line to the next page. All right, so now they're balanced, and then, which is good because that allowed us to increase the number of lines that were on this page. All right, so now we have this. And we're just going to quickly scroll through. Here we have a song, so I like to just set other things in block quote format. So I'm going to set all of these to middle with no indent. Okay, and then I like to separate, anytime I have a block quote kind of thing, I like to separate it. So I'm going to set this line to chapter text space above. All right, and everything's aligned there. Now, we only have 3 lines here, so I might just go look to see if we can increase that somehow. And looking at things, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to. We may be able to increase these 2 lines. Okay, all right, so that got a few more lines over here, so we're good. Then we need to apply master pages and put there. That's the end of a chapter. Apply master pages. We're lined up there. This is an area where I should be able to make both of these pages go to the very bottom by just increasing a couple of the tracking on some of these paragraphs. So let's see, we can increase the tracking on this paragraph to possibly make it fit. Nope. Let's see if we can decrease here. All right, it's a little tight. All right, so that's the whole concept of balancing pages. So I hope you found this video helpful.